the source that there were abduction in a village called Koro. Having Koro, about 2 people were abducted. Koro, is it Koro? Okay, yeah. And we've been trying to get the police to, speak to that, and nothing. Then yesterday too, around this highway, Ogele to Afon Offa Road, I learned one of an expatriate worker was also, picked up. I haven't been able to confirm the veracity of it, but we learned that work along that road has been suspended because of that abduction. I got it from about 3 different independent sources, but police hasn't spoken anything about it. So, it's one of those things that have been getting us worried in the last couple of hours, So I just thought to mention this if the police are listening, because I sent inquiries to them and no answer has been they haven't been forthcoming with any response so far.
Well, we hope that the messages get to them on time, and then they can give a quick response and update as to the situation that is developing. But hey, we'll keep tabs on the story as it develops, and of course we'll tell you exactly what the situation is.
And even I was getting calls on the University of Ilorin situations yesterday too.
Oh,
yeah. If a lot of students are speaking up, and they are really, really worried and concerned. In fact, I can't speak about most of them. The kind of what they are going through in terms of the transport situation.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Breakdown in health. The trauma that they go through and things like that. We don't want to continue doing this every morning, but if this is what we have to start doing every morning to get the university, to change the situation, then we will do it. It's part of our community service.
Yes. I know of the transport situation because I've been around this environment for a while now. So every morning I see how, it's always a rush. And as a matter of fact, some of them end up injuring themselves, falling off. As I've seen instances where, students will fall off, moving buses just because they need to get on the bus.
Can you imagine?
I've seen situations where students will fall on the highway and the coming vehicle is there, matches on the brake.
Oh my God.
Almost immediately. Why? Because they're in a hurry to catch the bus to school. So different cases,
and to make the lectures on time.
And just to meet the lectures on time. Sadly, some of them will get to school and the lectures are cancelled.
And you can imagine.
It happens. We've seen it overhead and seen a lot around, for the students here. Some of them are always very, very thankful
going through all
that,
of that.
I'm done. I'm saying goodbye. It's not see you later, but hey, it's going to be goodbye. It's bye-bye. All right, away from that, let's pick up from the conversation from yesterday.
Yeah.
The views to be expressed in the program is not in any way the position of FlowFM 92.7, but solely as expressed by the analysts, and of course some response that we will get this morning. I will keep it very, very civil. Let's not insult anybody with our comments. We're not giving for logical fallacies and fake news. If you must bring up any story from outside of what we have this morning on the program, make sure it's from credible source and we can easily verify your story or the claims this morning. We're streaming live on social media as well as on YouTube. You can go in there and catch an action of what's going on in the studio and drop your comments as well too.
Of course. All right, let's pick it up from where we dropped off yesterday, where the United States introduced a sweeping visa restriction policy targeting individuals who finance, direct, authorize, or support violent attacks and violations of religious freedom, also with sanctions extending to their immediate family members. You were making a comment about that yesterday.
Yeah. Like I was saying, it's one of those things that you can, that the United States government, UK, and the rest of them do to third world countries if they are not towing the line of, democratic and human rights practices. And to a very large extent, I think it's going to get the message across to some of these, because most of them, rely on medical tourism abroad. Their kids school there, and now one of the provision of that, the policies that the immediate families will be targeted to. So that means they don't get to come into the United States of America, and anybody related to them get their visas cancelled. So that is a very big one, and that is it speaks a lot. And if there is anything that most of our political elites are sensitive about, is to be put on that list. And of course, I've been listening to a lot of comments on the U.S. interest in Nigeria, and it is still quite sad that a lot of people think it's about it's about one religion or the other, and which is quite sad. Yes, we can't say one or two things about, the freezing of all those things. Like I said, that the United States was founded on Christian
principles,
and Bible principles. As a matter of fact, if you look at the Constitution of the United States of America, in the name of
in God we trust,
and you see, it's an explicit thing. So definitely you are going to have, and when you look at the government in place, it's an ultra-conservative Christian,
that's incumbent administration
under Trump. He hasn't hidden his position on that. And I think for me, maybe I haven't said this, but I think it's a very strong pushback, by, a section of American population, a significant section of American, population that have felt the excesses of this ultra-liberalism that is happening to America, this woke system. So you see, that is what happens when there is no moderation in whatever ideology you are pushing. The Obama administration came with a lot of things that are, in my opinion, appears to be an aberration to what we used to know. This wokeism, this is a woke system, this woke culture. About the issue of sexism and the rest of them. About transgender and the rest. So what you are now seeing is an extreme. That is a counter extremism. Of that woke system. So, to a very large extent, I think it's a lesson for those of us, for a lot of people who, want to talk about moderation. When you push certain, you have to understand that if you are saying some people are extreme, you can be extreme in your moderation too. Yeah, if you push it down people's throat, So that is what is happening. That is the way I react to this American thing, that it's a pushback, a very strong pushback. And, of course, they are pushing strongly, and it's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way, All
right. I want to ask this. Seeing as there's been no, arrest being made or prosecution of anybody that you've said, this person is an individual who financed or directed or authorized or supported any violent attacks, how do they identify who to restrict?
You see, before the American government comes out to say anything, they already have what they need, to roll out a policy. They already have the intelligence. You understand? Yes, over here we might stay here and pretend to ourselves that nothing is happening. But these guys, they already have the intelligence. And don't forget, there are lots of Nigerians talking over there. You understand? There are lots of Nigerians whom they talk to right here who give them irrefutable facts upon which to base, their policy. You understand? Then, let me say this. I have always been very careful about saying whether there is what you call genocide or not, or no genocide. I'm very careful because, you see, it depends on where you stand. If you are from Benue and you see the kind of massacre that happens there, or from Jos, Plateau State, you see those kind of killings and the rest of them, the tendency is to say that there is genocide, and the evidence is there to support your position. You understand?
About Southern Kaduna.
Exactly. There is that position, you will support it. But then when you go to places like Katsina, you understand, Zamfara, then you see a lot of Muslims being killed. You understand? Simply because they want them off their land. And very recently, you had the case of Fulani people being driven off their distance and their cattle taken. You understand? By the same Boko Haram. You understand? So there will be that conflict, as to whether to classify it as genocide or not genocide. But what is clear is that killings are happening. We
got you.
Killings are happening by people who claim to profess one particular religion. So for me, sometimes, it's about, I don't know, maybe I should, I don't want to offend people's sensitivity. You see, for those who love taking palm wine, you understand? Fresh palm wine comes with a lot of impurities that in those foam. You understand? That the foamy part of it comes with a lot of impurity. But you see, our fathers in those days, how do they take those palm wine? It's like sieving off those impurity and getting at the crust of it. So what America is throwing at us has a lot of impurity. So is there a way we can sift those impurities away and use those things that are useful to us, and which is taking out the people killing Nigerians? Sorry.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, please.
Good morning, Dayo. Good morning, Danielle.
Good morning.
Nicholas, good morning.
Good morning to you, Joey.
Thank God it's Friday. Nicholas, thanks for the good job you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Quickly, you see, I think the key word there is moderation. I like the way you put it, Nicholas. Moderation in everything is key to having a peaceful coexistence. I like what Trump is doing, but the fact that I don't see Trump as that man, that symbol of a good man, so to say. But then, when you fail to do the right thing, at times it takes a madman to come and correct you. You see, I saw a post yesterday. Some guy in the UK at a Christmas market, there's a stand of Muslims handing out free Quran and Hadith to people within a Christmas market. Do you think that is even obtainable here in Ilorin? Take a plea. For example, it's an hit program, and you now see a Christian store where some people are sharing Bibles. Can we have that here? You see, religion is not about contest. It's about your faith. Your faith and your own relationship with God. Why has it become a contest that people will just come out and say, oh, Islam is going to take over the world? I'm sorry to say, we Muslims put ourselves in this spotlight, and we have to face the consequences. Except we wake up and defend this faith in the true way it's supposed to be defended. Not some people being at the forefront giving us this bad name. You get it? That aside, on Unilearning, we have to still go back to what is called moderation. You see, when you look at the way and manner the visits of these institutions emerges, I'm sorry to say, especially Unilearning, we have tribalized and religionized everything that has to do with Unilearning. If you don't belong to a block of people in Kwara State, if they don't accept you, you can never be VC, no matter whatever capacity you have. And that is why the VC will not be responsible to everybody, but rather to the block that made him the VC. And that is why you see they keep muting the students from talking when they are even suffering. It is all about moderation. We need to be true to ourselves. Let's moderate our ways of life. That is what Islam preaches. Good morning.
Thank you, Tori. Good morning.
That thing he said, about moderation, especially the religionalizing, that is making the appointment of CEOs of universities a religiously based thing, is what is spoiling this. There is a lot of talks now going about governorship in Kwara State in 2027. And this is one of the arguments a lot of people are, making. And you see, as much as it might appear very tempting, to toe that line, but in my own, view, a lot has happened in the University of Ilorin in the past, that tend to suggest that attempt at making a particular block, the deciding factor. But you see, over the years, what has it brought in terms of, the quality of education that we have in university? For me, I think rather than build the university system, I think it has brought the university system to the sorry past that we now see. And again, let me go back. You see, yes, I quite understand what Mr. Tony is trying to say. But you see, like I tell people, you see, extremism is not peculiar to Islam. Well, let me say Muslims, because Islam is different from, that's the religion itself. Then, of course, Muslims are the adherents. You understand? So
those who practice the religion.
Those who practice it. So it is not peculiar. In fact, long before Islam, there has been Christian extremism. And I keep on saying this, that you need to go back into history and see the kind of atrocity committed by Christendom. But you see, at a point, there was an evolution. There was a kind of, evolving of systems that allowed the church to be separated from the state. And that is what gave birth to this Western civilization that all of us, the tech, the industrialization, industrial, revolution, all this tech-based, advancement, and the rest of them. You see, as much as possible, this is what we urge, adherents on both sides to always remember that when you take the faith out of governance, everybody benefits. There is always advancement and less of war and less of rancor. So that, happened for governance, and in the areas of the university system too. If you have those peculiarities, it should be looked into,
All right.
0807-777-9927. Again, 0807-777-9927 is number to call or to send a message to be a part of the conversation. Let's move on to another news story. A former United Nations senior human rights envoy, Professor Shitta-Bey, has criticized the Nigerian Senate's move to amend the Anti-Terrorism Prevention Act to introduce the death penalty for kidnapping that has surged in the past few weeks, describing the proposal as inconsistent with Nigeria's obligations under international human rights law. He also noted that expanding capital punishment would place the country at odds with the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which Nigeria ratified in 1993, warning that the measure is legally questionable and ineffective in deterring violent crime. Do you agree?
If you cast your mind back, when this issue of, punishing, I did say that punishing insurgency, banditry, and the rest of them. I did mention that there is a problem with that death penalty. Because of international convention. These days, there are attempts at outlawing death penalties, and it's gaining traction. So you see, while trying to solve a problem, we must be very careful not to create another one. You understand that? So,
Nicholas, just for public understanding or further understanding, and I recall vividly you saying that there is an international outcry against capital punishment.
Yeah.
Yes. You recall the case of a Nigerian alleged drug trafficker in Indonesia.
Okay.
Indonesia's stance on drug trafficking is the capital punishment, death penalty. How much pressure has been put on Indonesia to drop that?
I don't know. There was the case of this one young man a very, very long time ago. I can't remember the year. Almost 20 years now. The death penalty placed on that young man reverberated internationally.
There's even a recent one.
Yeah, Indonesia is under tremendous pressure. But you see, the thing about Indonesia is they have a cast iron, a rule of law.
Yeah.
So that is what is helping them. That is why the pressure is not so severe, to at least hamper governance. But I doubt if Indonesia, I'm not sure, but I doubt if they are signatory to this international convention we are talking about. So, but if you recall what that former envoy is saying is that we are signatories to things that bar us from making laws that take human lives. You understand? So that is where we have a lacuna, And if you recall, a very good example that is reading a lot of hoopla is the case of Nnamdi Kanu, the extraordinary rendition from Kenya. We are signatories to, conventions barring government from doing that. Yet we went back against that convention to bring him back to answer for his charges, into his charges, All
right. Sorry to bother you, Nicholas. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
What's your name and where are you calling from, please?
My name is Shitta. I'm calling from Sango.
All right, Shitta from Sango. Please go ahead.
Yes. Well, I just want to comment on the issue of this extremism, as Mr. Nicholas rightly said. You see, it has nothing to do with religion. If you look at extremism and poverty, they are 5 and 6. Look at the countries in the world where you can see the highest number of extremism. You see the rate of poverty there. And that is why our government needs to fight poverty, fight corruption, and ensure that everybody is okay. There is no several place in the whole world, we know that. But if you look at Africa and parts of Asia, look at the level of poverty in the countries that you can talk about extremism. So our government should just wake up and smell the coffee. They should try as much to fight the poverty. Not all about all this professional work that every government is contributing 1 billion in a month. To do what? To send people to the bush? You see, we need just to wake up and smell the coffee and do the right thing for the people. Islam is from Saudi Arabia. How many times do you hear them experiencing whatever we are experiencing in Nigeria and part of Africa and some Asia, part of the world? That is my comment this morning.
All right. Thank you. Let me just quickly add a little comment, a little question to what Shitta said. It said extremism and poverty. 5 and 6. How about education? Because again, if a mind that is not educated cannot be taken out of poverty, you might probably not see the road that leads to prosperity.
In fact, poverty is a blanket a blanket umbrella for all those undesirables, like even poor education in itself, illiteracy. It's part of poverty.
Well, I quite agree.
You understand? So you see, he's absolutely right on that, and it is not peculiar to one religion.
Definitely.
Don't forget that Karl Marx did say that religion is the opium of the masses. They are suffering, so give them religion. You understand? So they can live in delusion. In fact, there is this theory with it. It's international mass communication theory. I've forgotten the name of the proponent of that theory, and I've forgotten the name. But what it explicitly states is that religion is one of those sectors controlled by government. When you control the religious leaders, they control the masses. You understand? So the bulk of these masses are poor people. So the only thing they do, there is a God up there that we are working towards getting his salvation, getting to a better place, paradise and the rest of them, whether in Al-Jannah or in paradise, as the Christians have it. But it's a better place to go to. So they tell you, don't fight the government, or don't fight this, don't do this. They make you docile. You understand? That is what religion to a lot of people are. You understand? So, to a very large extent, they keep it in place to keep the people down. You understand? So, that is why you find that in places where you have extreme poverty, that is where the likelihood to have this kind of extremism, violent extremism or martyrdom extremism like you have in the case of Christendom. Extremism is happening in Christendom in Nigeria. Yeah. It's happening. You can imagine a case where people donate virtually everything, their livelihood and the rest of them, instead of making meaningful investment because a pastor says so. That is a form of extremism itself. In fact, the mere fact that we can't even sit down and galvanize ourselves and decide that all we need to do is to go to church, it's a form of extremism in itself. Because, naturally, when you see that, what do? You band together and resist. But because of this form of extremism, we decide to go to church to pray. You understand? When this is about policy, pushing for policy and really making necessary protests, that is it,
All right. Well, let's take a comment from Facebook. Dr. Mrs. Omar Lebar from Owerri. Thank you for sending your message. Peter B has said it all. Why is this government insensitive to the suffering of the masses? What a wasteful and frivolous spendings of our commonwealth. So President Tinubu is still talking about 2027 election when kidnapped school children are still in captivity. Instead of buying security vehicles to tackle insecurity that has overwhelmed Nigerians, Mr. President has the mind to flood the country with election vehicles. Where lies the morality when pensioners are being denied of their pensions and gratuities? How did we get here?
Well, that's a very deep one. And, please, I like putting things in context. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen things like that. Under Goodluck Jonathan, we had the same thing.
Right.
Under Muhammadu Buhari, we had the same thing.
I was going to mention
In
that.
fact, even before we had it under Obasanjo himself. So it has always been a tradition of political leaders, especially in governance, when critical issues are biting hard, you see them indulging in things that appear to be mundane, that shouldn't even be mentioned. A lot of people will categorize as this is part of governance, sustainability in governance. At least you can't say because of insecurity and things like that, every other aspect of life and politics is suspended, be on hold. But I think that even if you need to do things like that, there are ways of making this keeping it the below radar, keeping it off radar completely. You understand? So that you don't, when things like that become clear, you understand, to the ordinary man, it appears insensitive, and that is what Peter Obi is responding to.
Okay. Can we say, because, he was a governor for 8 years as well.
Okay.
And apparently my question is, whoever is president right now in Nigeria will probably be towing the same path.
Probably. You underline the word probably.
Probably be towing the same path.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you a question. There's been, I don't know, I've not come across this comment, but he appears to be very silent as to the appointment of General Christopher Musa.
Oh, who is that?
Peter Obi.
Let us be clear about certain things, which I think a lot of obedience, a lot of people who are in support of Obi have been saying, and we should be very careful not to fall into that trap. Sometimes, issues that ordinarily shouldn't concern him, they want to hear his comment. And yet, this is the person.
So you think the followers are spur him to making certain remarks?
No. I think that if you say he's unimportant, why do you want to hear from him? You say he's third in the last election, right? That's what he said. Nobody's asking Atiku to say something about it. You understand? Nobody's asking all those prominent people to say, so why must you hear from him? But having said that, if there is anything I know about Peter Obi, it's about he takes his time, before he makes a statement. And usually when he makes those statements, they are usually profound. You understand? Now, you might say the timing is a little bit slow, but again, the public has said everything that you need to say about the appointment, the ambassadorial, nomination. And we have said enough about it. People like Reno Mokri, the kind of things he has said about the current president. You have Fani Kayode, he's a motley of a record and things like that. So what else do you want him to say? It's out there. Then again, don't forget, you have to give this to him. Most of these people that are named were people who have been attacking him religiously. Now, if he now makes a negative statement about the appointment, they will say it's because those people have been attacking him. You understand? So you have to, I don't envy Peter Obi. That is the simple truth. I don't envy him at all,
All right. Because of time, how do you respond to the additional names, added to the ambassadorial nominees? And we have some names there as well, too, that you want to ask. The former First Lady of Imo State,
or Hakim,
Mrs. Hakim. You have,
Ibot.
The former Rivers Sole Administrator.
I mean, you see now, what do you want Peter Obi to say? It's very clear. Everybody can see. They can make their own comment.
All right. Your closing statements, and then for the week, what topped it for you this week?
Well, what topped is, of course, the insecurity takes the cake again. We are only hoping and begging the government to, do something about it. Then, of course, the University of Ilorin case, we need to reiterate that
as well.
If the VC is listening, please do something about it.
We'll pick it up on Monday as well, like you said.
Of course. Unless it changes, we'll be talking about it every morning.
All right. The views expressed is not in any way the position of FlowFM 92.7 of the staff there, but is expressed by our in-house analyst, Nicholas Uwerunonye. Thank you for joining us. I'm Danielle Shitta-Bey.
And I am Adeyemi. Good morning.
Wonderful news to all fashionistas. Marriott International is having a